Howdy everybody, thanks for joining me in this talk. I brought you out to my secret garden, and this is my current electroculture experiment I'm trying. Basically got a 10-foot, 1-inch thick copper pipe. Got it about a foot in, a foot and a half into the soil. It's kind of what they say, and then it's just creating an antenna, trying to harvest the ether, the natural energies to feed my garden. So we'll see what happens with it. So this is gonna be a fun talk. It's called Freedumb because we're kind of in an age where if you think you're free, you're really dumb. Put it that way. Are we living in a world of freedom, or a world where you are free to be dumb? In a world of real freedom, you need wise men and women to guide the youth and teach them in the ways of peace and abundance without using any force or control. It's almost natural to be in a state of peace. In a world of control, you need stupid people who don't ask questions, and then you need ruthless tricksters willing to do anything to maintain this control. I'm sure you have heard the saying, ignorance is bliss. Many people utter this spell or mantra each day to avoid the truth and continue down the ignorance train. All aboard the ignorance train. Woot woot, the next stop is myocarditis. And then I get back on the ignorance train. Boop, boop. The next stop, Ozempic face. Or the eye of the Pfizer might be the next stop on the ignorance train. You just never know when the ignorance train is gonna smack you. So I'd pay attention and then hop off the ignorance train as soon as possible. The truth is that ignorance is suffering. Wisdom is bliss. Wisdom cannot be handed down by a book or passed down by a teacher. Wisdom is earned through first-hand experience or taking the right action. When you take things you know and leverage them against this reality, that's wisdom. Knowledge is simply knowing how to leverage information. Or according to the etymology of knowledge, knowledge is capacity for knowing, understanding, familiarity. Also, knowledge can be a fact or condition of knowing, awareness of a fact. I like that the etymology of knowledge goes back to news. Like the news is knowledge, or if you notice something, that's knowledge. Information, learning, that's all knowledge. And then sexual intercourse is the etymology of knowledge too. I remember in the Bible they used to say, they went in the tent and he got to know her, so like knowing somebody, it's almost like becoming one with something. Knowledge is understanding how to count with numbers or how to speak a language, where wisdom is using the numbers to count something or using a language to speak. You see, knowledge is useless without a purpose or an action to take. One of my favorite mantras that I've learned is care, knowledge, action. I learned this from Mark Passio. I bring this guy up a lot. So if you really want to learn true morality, you should watch Mark Passio's natural law seminars. That's where I got this mantra of first you must care about something. Then you got to gather the knowledge of what you're caring about, and then formulate the action to take based off of what you care. It's just a great way to find wisdom. To experiment, to follow through with your actions here, instead of just gathering knowledge and just filling yourself full of words and excuses of why not to act. So according to Mark, care is the eighth hidden Hermetic teaching. It's also called the generative principle. But you have to care to create anything. It's kind of a lot of what's missing in this age is just people caring about each other, or caring about the truth, or caring about where this is all leading to. You gotta have care. If you truly want things to be right around you. If you don't care, this is what you get, is this type of world we're living in right now where nobody cares. So they allow the most careless people to rule over them. Care, knowledge, action. Basically means you must first care about something, gather the knowledge, take the appropriate action. It's a simple path to wisdom. Wisdom is practical. Wise men do not waste time theorizing or following another's word. They simply test out what has been told to them. If it doesn't fit or hold true, it's discarded. But it was always worth the effort to make sure you're on the right track. Crowd influence and peer pressure mean nothing in the mind of a wise man. I like what Osho had to say about a wise man. I'll throw that clip in here. You've probably heard the saying, freedom isn't free. Well, that's like saying the blue isn't blue. No, freedom is free, actually. That's the whole reason of the word. Freedom. To be free. But in this age, everything's got to be twisted into inversion land. So in this age, freedom has been twisted to mean sacrifice to your masters. That's the only way we can be free. Because freedom isn't free, right? Stupid people go to make war. Stupid people go to war to make money in this age. It has absolutely nothing to do with honor or doing the right thing. Private central banking and unlimited printing of fiat currencies create forever wars. And, since just happened within the week, the United States Congress, all the con men, passed a bill on 420 to continue the forever wars. So I might as well kind of mention, because it's just, the things I talk about, it's just unlimited evidence every week. Look back in history, I'm sure what I'm talking about will be vindicated in the future as they create more chaos and calamity. But this latest bill that Congress passed, it should tell you what your rulers think about you. Basically, this bill funds future war with Russia, China, and Iran all at the same time. I mean, it's just a brilliant idea for a crumbling empire to go to war with every superpower imaginable. Like it's not a setup. And then people lately, they've been talking about that Cloward and Piven strategy. Alex Jones used to always talk about Cloward and Piven, what they're doing to get us. And the strategy is basically just to overload our system in debt. So you can kind of see how funding forever wars, funding everything has brought this country to its knees. It's working. The Cloward and Piven strategy from like the 50s or something is kind of like we're full force into it at this point. So we're funding all these wars with Russia, China, and Iran. But the funny thing is that most of this money will be disappeared into offshore bank accounts and pallets of cash to keep corrupt warlords and the mercenaries satisfied. You got to realize these people won't continue murdering or going to war unless they're paid. That's how war continues. You're not sending money to stop war ever. You're always sending money to create more war and to keep it going in this age. I mean, but the TV tells you the opposite, which you should really understand by now what that's all about. Giving you a television in your mind. It's all fake. If you haven't realized it yet, this is the only way to keep war going. We would never individually decide to fund massive slaughters. Like, it's got to be printed fiat money without any of us having a say at all. This has been the case throughout our current history. Bankers and financiers funding wars and profiting from both sides. You should check out the book Tragedy and Hope, wrote by Carol Quigley. In that book, it kind of shows you how the Rockefellers funded both the United States and the Nazis during World War II. And a funny thing about that book is they've kind of like erased that page from most of the books, so you have to find the original version of Tragedy and Hope. I think it's the unabridged version that actually has that page that states how the Rockefellers shipped gold over to the Nazis to keep the Nazis funded, while the U.S., while they were funding the United States with all their oil empire. I mean, it's just a small group of people that ends up winning out of these wars, and they use both sides. It's just should be obvious. All the evidence is there, but hey, stay ignorant if you want. But this is the core of human slavery in our time. War is simply too profitable, and it creates enough fear to subdue the minds of the masses, right? Like, you tell people we need to end the government, they just, but what about war? Well, who's going to protect us? It's the opposite. With government, you're always going to have war. You'll never have peace. It's just the way it works. As Gerald Celente says, when all else fails, they take you to war. Wise men make peace while fools go to war. And I guarantee a lot of people are not going to like this, but it needs to be said. I suggest the next Memorial Day, or the next time you see an order follower in uniform, instead of the stupid slave saying, everybody who sees these soldiers, thank you for your service. Thank you so much. You murder people in my name because I'm a coward. Thank you for your service. Right? Like, I just, makes me sick when I hear it. Instead, you should say, fuck you for your service. You murderous fool. You are the cause of worldwide slavery and suffering. Only absolute cowards praise murderers who murder in their name. When they come home and everybody claps for the murderer, they're so proud that the murderer went into the oil fields and killed a bunch of innocent people so they can harvest oil for more war. They're such heroes, right? They're not just serving Satanists. But see, natural law always kicks in. That is the beauty about this place, is there is a supreme law above what any of these stupid people do or say. But natural law kicks in. You know the saying, those who live by the sword die by the sword. I like this other saying better. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I feel like a lot of people are playing some stupid games right now, and man, they're getting all the prizes they deserve. When you see a soldier, they are the biggest cowards of our age, always attacking in large groups at night, or with high technology far, far away from the battlefield. Never brave enough to stand face to face with their enemies. Never brave enough to stand, never brave enough to stand up for what is right. They follow orders and become fated by another who simply uses their life as a tool for more control over others. I mean, if you've been in the military or heard about how it operates, I mean, it's pathetic for anybody to think it's heroic. I mean, it's like turning men into dogs and then sending dogs to go kill each other. It's a degrading, it's a dishonor, it's scum life. And they need to be told this. I mean, it's just, it's crazy how they try to get teenagers to sign up to go murder people. Because, I mean, once I hit my 30s, I really realized how dark all that is and why they're always grabbing the young kids and trying to make it seem exciting, that murder is a heroic, exciting thing to do. It's not. It's disgusting. But see, you really only get that with wisdom throughout time. You know, you're not going to see these older guys sending all the youth to war ever, even fathoming going to war. Because they know it's wrong. But if they could trick somebody into doing it for them, phew. Now back to, I was talking about that bill that the Congress conmen just passed. The bill also gives the president powers to shut down parts of the internet. Because free speech on the internet is the only effective weapon we have at the moment. That's it. That's the only thing that has a chance at uniting humanity. So they've got to stop it if they want to maintain control. But what are they going to tell you? It's Chinese misinformation, right? When you think for yourself and post a video on TikTok, you know, a lot of TikTok, the reason they're all against TikTok is you got all these young kids making like a minute or a 2-minute video that's like pro-Palestine or just pro-truth. And the youth are sort of waking up sooner than they would have expected to a lot of the corruption that they've had, you know. And then the last bit of this bill is funding $500 million to assist NGOs in South America to bring more migrants across the U.S. border. I mean, so to kind of wrap it all together, they are literally funding the invasion of the southern border of the United States while claiming to defend the borders of Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan while taking away your free speech on the internet. I mean, it's just... Their actions always speak louder than their empty words. The Uniparty really hates humanity. And I found a great cartoon that I'll display that kind of gives you the image I think of when I think of politicians and people and demonocracy. The picture is by After School. That's After School, SKOOL. He does a lot of great artwork to the background of somebody teaching you something wise or intelligent. So I'd check out the After School guy. He's pretty awesome. So this all makes me think of a quote by Michael Elner. Just look at us. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Psychiatrists destroy minds. Scientists destroy truth. Major media destroys information, religions destroy spirituality, and governments destroy freedom. You have to be completely stupid to call this world freedom, to think you're free at all in this world. To be honest about this situation, you should call it what it actually is. I remember I was taught this in school even, totalitarianism or authoritarianism, to where authorities are in charge of your life. They author your life, your existence. Totalitarianism, what do you think 2020 was all about? Then that was the final step into taking control over your health. Or simply, I call it worldwide mind slavery. That's what's going on. So you should really stop calling it anything else than what it really is. A country, a democracy, a republic, and spreading freedom. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. You should know that the first satanic sin, there's a whole temple of Satan. This is a satanic symbol, the Satanic Temple by Anton LaVey. And the first satanic sin is stupidity. It's the first thing a Satanist must learn if they're to prey on the weak-minded. Don't be one of them, right? Don't be a weak-minded, stupid person falling for every single lie that's put out there. I read all the 9 satanic sins, and they're very wise teachings to follow, actually. It's hilarious. It's just you don't be a Satanist and you don't use others. But a lot of the tenets and things that they teach are wise. Keep you out of a lot of trouble in this realm. You can't fix stupid. You can't force people out of poverty. Okay, these are individual choices. Altruism is immoral and incompatible with a free society. So this is a quote by Ayn Rand. What Ayn Rand had to say about the poor was simply, don't be one of them. What can you do to stop somebody from sitting around and being lazy and not providing for themselves? What, you keep showering them in money, giving them more chances to be lazy? It's wrong. All you can do to help the situation of the poor in this world is to not be one. That's it. But Ayn Rand states that whoever claims the right to redistribute the wealth produced by others is claiming the right to treat human beings as chattel or property. You cannot end poverty by punishing people for being productive. I don't know where I was at. I think it's okay. I know that if government was out of our lives, it would at least give us a chance at a peaceful society. You cannot and will not ever have peace while government still exists. I've studied the subject for over a decade and lived it my entire life. If you care, and here goes back to, the Hermetic teaching of care. If you want anything in this world, you got to care about it first. If you care about what is right or morally sound, you can imagine a world without government. You still have your creative capacities. You still have an imagination intact. Okay? You haven't been conquered yet. And if you're actually trying, and you are actually trying to build that world as I speak, you're trying to build a world without government, without mind slavery, This is the main issue I find when I talk with most people. Like, they cannot even imagine a free world. They can't imagine a world without government. Their minds have been so crushed and subdued, they can't even see it anymore. And that was the whole point of fucking government, right? Was to control their mind and darken it so much so to where they can't even see freedom anymore. And they call slavery freedom, as we're all experiencing in this age. They blame somebody else for not being free, or they have an excuse why men must control other men in this realm. Or they're just cowards, always afraid, choosing control and force instead of just being brave and open and honest. They stopped creating, and they were spiritually conquered long ago. One book always comes to mind as a simple solution to government. Okay, and this is something that when I read this book, man, it really floored me. The book is called The Market for Liberty. It was wrote in 1970, of course. So, 50 years ago. It was wrote, it was outlined. A 50-year-old book with only 175 pages has all the answers I've been seeking for so long. I wish I was given this book as a kid, because everything my intuition was telling me back then would have made sense. The book logically outlines how private businesses combined with voluntary interactions are the only way to have a free society. A world where we simply vote with our money and make private contracts with each other. There is no force. Who would have thought? In order to have freedom, you can't force people to do stuff. What an epiphany. There would be no force or no theft allowed. Private security forces, private arbitration, funded by individuals would restore the law and order that we have lost in this age. You would have endless high-quality choices, simply because private businesses cannot run a deficit. A private business can fail, unlike a government. Private businesses can't print money and force people to use their products. Corrupt business practices would simply fail because of bad reputation. If we were each individually funding companies one by one by saying, how did they treat this other person? Ooh, they did that. I'm going to do business with this other. If we had freedom, if we had choices, we could live in a free society. Just outrageous what's going on in this age. And how easy the answer is. As a book wrote 50 years ago. Has all these answers outlined. Unlike today, where mega corporations are literally too big to fail. You probably remember the whole housing crisis and all the mortgage. They were signing a bunch of death contracts, mortgages. They signed too many. And then they had to, the banks were losing the money because they had made poor decisions, and it was a scam. There was a scummy scam involved, and they knew they were doing it all just so the government would bail them out. And then it's now these mega corporations are a part of our reality now. They cannot fail. It's so insane. Read the book, though, if you really want to know. It's the moral way to live, in my opinion. No slaves, no masters. We would all actually be equal, like they tell us we are. Voluntarily deciding who to make business with or not. Simple. Peaceful. Easy breezy, like this life should be. It should be a joy. It shouldn't be a suffering, succotash situation. But On the other hand, in this age of freedom, you're always free to be dumb. But there's a price to pay for leading such an ignorant life. Your satanic masters prefer mass stupidity over individual intelligence. This brings me to my final point. I have realized now that I have been a scientist my whole life, and that I have been my own experiment. This has been, I heard somebody talking about it on the internet, and it just really like clicked with me, like, man, I actually have experimented my entire life with everything in this realm, and myself particularly, especially when it comes to health and staying healthy. I don't go to doctors at all. And I actually have an entirely different paradigm on how the body works and how to heal it versus what everybody's told. And I did it by experimenting on myself, so that's how I've come to my truths. It's not through somebody telling me anything, it's by me actually putting out the effort to do the things and to figure them out. But I'm only now realizing, like, that's not only the health aspect, the truth aspect of my life, and what makes me happy. I've had to just experiment in all these ways, to find out what's real to me. I have found endless avenues of freedom and wise ways to live without taking from anybody else or causing anybody harm, or causing any harm to nature. Like, you can live in this realm in harmony with everything. I mean, it's a lot harder in this age because of how these systems are pitted against individual progress. It's all about group collective, conquering of others. It's just not built for individuals who have heart and character and morality. So I'm hoping it'll change eventually. So I have found endless avenues of freedom and wise ways to live without taking from others or causing harm to nature. This personal experiment is going well, in my opinion. I'm as free as anybody could be in this age. Like, if I want, I could pick up, move to wherever I want. I don't have any mort gages. I'm not in some death contract. I don't have anybody dragging me down and telling me I have to be this or I have to do that. Like, I'm happy with this experiment of freedom. I'm as free as anybody could be. I'm having fun trying to make order out of all this chaos. But on the flip side, I now realize that most people are not scientific at all. It's more of a popularity contest when people make a decision. It has nothing to do with truth or scientific pursuits. Experts' opinions, broadcasters, and loudmouth idols influence most people's behaviors. It was obviously designed this way. They literally call these people influencers, and they're socially engineering you with little posts on the internet. And then the news, what does the news do now? What do they say on X? Oh, this person said that on X. That's a news story. And it's all just fabricated reality for you to consume and be tricked. It's like there's nothing real about what they're telling you anymore. Except when they drop the bombs and they murder the people, and then they take all the photos and scare you to death with it. It's just... But I realized that most people have been experimented on their entire life by satanic systems of control. Like, while I've been experimenting on myself to find freedom, this satanic group called government and the people that own it, they've been experimenting on all these dumb people that have no clue they're being experimented on. Generations of experimentation on the stupid slavish mind has led us to this new world order. Perverted pedophile kings rule in this dark age. In the U.S., we have Pedo Pete, right? And the crackhead Prince. It's pretty hilarious. But when your leaders are the most corrupt people in the realm, you will get a perverted and corrupt world. I think the tides are turning at this point in time. The ignorant are paying the price for their everyday poor decisions in life, while those that have been on the path of truth, paying attention, going against the madness of society, they're starting to uncover what they've always been after. The truth of this realm. Like, what is going on here? Why are we here? I feel like there is a portion of humanity that we're actually discovering this place and what it's about and why we're here. We've been struggling ever since we were kids to really make sense of any of this. But it just seems like lately things are clicking if you've been paying attention at all. The truth is the only thing that'll set you free in this realm. So it's probably offended a lot of people, whatever. Just needs to be said, you know. I do care for people in the military, but it's like I care enough to tell them their mistakes instead of being a little coward and praising them. There's nothing to praise. Nothing to praise, about what goes on in this age. But had to let it out there, in this age of freedom. You're not free, but you're free to be dumb. You're free to keep being ignorant. You're free to keep following somebody down into the pit, into the ditch. You're free to join the crabs in the bucket, and everybody pulling each other down, just free to be dumb and not think or act in a moral way. So I thought it was a good point to bring up, because it, in my opinion, like, if we're up against anything, it's just simple stupidity. We're not up against anything that it has real power. They're all paper tigers. It's all just tricks. And I think, like, the beautiful thing about what's happening is the tricks have to get stupider. Like, to continue on down this path of deception, it becomes more and more obvious. It all has to manifest. All the things that have been hidden deep below, they're all up at the surface now. And you have to choose to dumb yourself down. Like, you see people, they're dipping and dodging, and they cannot look at the truth because they've led a life of deception. To where it's like, man, I really thought I was up against something strong or something that was intelligent, something that it's just, no, you're up against stupidity. And there's only one way to deal with stupidity. You gotta let it run its course. Like, just back away from all these stupid people and all their stupid pursuits. Create the new world. Dream your own dream right now. Like, we could be on the precipice of a free world. You really never know. I'm always keeping that option out there, man. I'm not going to sit around and think I'm going to be a slave to these government systems forever. They're getting really desperate. And it's all unscientific. That's what, you can do so many scientific experiments to disprove all the theories they shoved down your throat as a child. So, it might seem like I have all these dark talks and but I'm telling you, this should give you hope. Just don't be stupid. Become wise. Go test things out. Like I talked about knowledge, in the beginning of this talk, and it's just you're bombarded with all this knowledge, all this news, all this information. Just shut it off. Only take in the knowledge that you can act upon. Take that knowledge, go act upon it, see if it's real or not. Become a wise man. It's just, I don't know how this could be this way. I've just always went out and tested stuff because I had this feeling I was being lied to. To me, it's just like 1 + 1 = 2. There's never really been that much of a trick going on here. It's like, oh, you have no option to hold these people accountable. Well, they're just gonna do whatever they want to you at that point. It's not very hard to see. You have to be extremely stupid and blind yourself just over and over again to not see the truth at this point. So I just hope this encourages you to stand up and act in a wise way. Start testing things out. Take just baby steps, small steps at a time, to verify what you believe here. So I hope y'all enjoy this. I love you.